State of Origin Game 3 is finally upon us, and I must admit it's been a pretty good State of Origin series so far. We've had 2 lopsided games, granted, but it does come down to a decider, which is what we always want. I'm going to give you a few thoughts about the upcoming game, my thoughts about what might happen, which is a lucky dip, but also a few thoughts on the players and the lineups that we have. But before we do, let's have a quick recap of the previous 2 games. So game 1 was in Sydney. Queensland won comfortably. New South Wales had a send-off, and that's been well talked about. Let's just park that there. But really, what can you take from game 1? It was a relatively unfair contest. That contest was taken away from us. It is what it is. Queensland did what they needed to do. The Blues did show some grit in that second half, and they took that into game 2. So game 2, MCG in Melbourne, massive crowd, a lot on the line. Of course, Queensland probably feeling quite comfortable in that the fact that they've got the upper hand because they have a game spare, if you know what I mean. But boy, did New South Wales turn up. They completely dominated Queensland in that first half. It was the most one-sided half of State of Origin football that has ever been seen. So that sort of sets New South Wales up quite a bit for game 3. The second half was a lot more even. I think Queensland won that on the scoreboard. However, all the damage was done in the first half, and it was unreal and unexpected. Not a lot of people would have seen that coming. So let's move on to game 3. We all know what the history says and tells us about game 3, or even losing game 1. So historically, after claiming game 1 in Sydney, and we're talking about game 1 in Sydney specifically, the Maroons have gone on to win 7 of those series, and they lost only 1. So winning game 1 away is very, very important. However, I don't think there's not been a game 2 like we've had this year. And since Origin became a 3-game series, the state that lost the first game has come back to win the series just 10 times out of 41. So not very often at all. We know what that's like, and we know also that the last time the Blues won a series decider in Brisbane was 2005. Of 13 deciders played in Queensland since 1982, the Blues have won just 2. The odds are completely against them in based on those stats. But the odds for this game are relatively even, as always they are for State of Origin games. Now, let's look at the lineup, and we can then, I'm going to tell you what I think, or who I think will win. But at fullback, we've got Reece Walsh for Queensland. He's got the most X factor of any player in the competition at the moment, or playing rugby league at the moment. He had a pretty quiet game 2, of course, but so did all the Queenslanders. And of course, game 1, well, he was taken out too early and taken off the field. So I think he's got a lot to prove. He'll be back at home. Queensland are gonna step up being back at Suncorp. That is natural, and they will want to respond to what happened in game 2. So I think Reece Walsh will be a big part of that, certainly from an attack point of view. Selwyn Cobbo gets a run on the wing because Xavier Coates is injured. Selwyn Cobbo is missed game 2, so we can't. He didn't have much to do with that one, but he missed game 2 being rested. I don't really know what that means, but anyway, in game 1 he was pretty pivotal in a way because of the injury. There was an injury, so Reece Walsh went off. So Selwyn Cobbo came on and played a lot of minutes. He will, it'll be interesting to see how he goes, but I think he'll be fine. He's, in terms of wing, that's probably his better position. I know he's played in other positions. Dan Gagai making a return. The last time he played State of Origin was the decider in 2022. Everyone talk. The reality is he steps up in State of Origin. He's one of the most experienced players in the game. Him and I guess Cherry Evans and probably Ben Hunt. There'll be a few of them floating around, but certainly Dane Gagai will be absolutely key. I don't suppose he comes up against Bradman Best, being Knight's teammates, but Dane Gagai I think will add a lot in defence specifically, where that was Queensland's issue. So Queensland will definitely be focusing on defence, and I think Dane Gagai will add to sort of make that a little bit more solid there. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, the only, he scores a ton of tries. He's played pretty well this series. He injured his AC joint in the previous game and hasn't played since. That might be the only thing for him, but he's been a professional for a while now, so he knows what it takes, and he's played enough Origin. So I don't think that'll factor in too much, in my opinion. Valentine Holmes moving out to the wing. He's played as a wing a lot, and including for State of Origin. So I think that's probably not a big deal, and probably a wise thing because he was targeted in game 2, and I think the Blues certainly physically dominated him. I'd put it that way. Tom Dearden, of course, he's in there because Cameron Muntz is out injured still, but although Cameron Muntz is back in a couple of weeks, I think. But Tom Dearden has done reasonably well. He does perform at State of Origin, but that's probably one area that one player that I think that the Blues will look to try and better. And but Tom Dearden, he gives it everything, so you'd like to think that he will step up again from a defensive point of view, where he was probably targeted last week in the last game. Daly Cherry Evans, well, of course, it's pretty hard to critique Queensland because they were all pretty average, really, and they'll say that themselves. But Daly Cherry Evans in game 1 was man of the match, I think. Well, certainly he deserved to if he wasn't. And he'll look to step up, being, again, Suncorp. He's one of the experienced campaigners. The decider, he's going to be a key man in this game, no doubt. Moving on to the forwards, you've got Ruben Cotter. He's a mainstay in the front row or in the middle anyway, for Queensland. It depends whether he's prop or he's lock. So that's a given. I think he's going to want to try and offer a bit more physicality, because that's where Queensland lacked last week. Ben Hunt, he's just solid as a rock, isn't he, really? That decision was always going to happen. So it's all going to be about, I guess, the better talking points is how Harry Grant is used. Harry Grant certainly struggled in game 2, probably more than Ben Hunt in that sense. Lindsay Collins, he's going to have to be the one to lead the pack in terms of physicality. He will be a key player for their forward pack. Kirk Capewell comes in for Jaden Sewer, and that is basically probably a defensive decision, but also a versatility decision too, because Capewell he was playing wing at one point in the last time he played for the Warriors, so he's played centre at State of Origin level. He provides good cover there, and as we've seen, there can be injuries to backs. In the first 2 games, we've seen that. So, or either red card or HIA, whatever injuries. So he gets a bit of cover there too, but I think defensively he's going to offer a bit more than Sewer did. Jeremiah Nanai, he's going to offer a lot in attack, and that's where the Blues will have to watch him. But defensively, I think he wasn't as strong as they would like from their edge forwards. Patrick Harrigan, he's another leader of the pack. He's going to have to play big minutes and muscle up against his old mate Payne Haas from the Broncos. So that's going to be a good matchup. Harry Grant on the bench, as always. He's going to pretty much likely play 40 minutes, just offsetting Ben Hunt. And Harry Grant he hasn't played since the last State of Origin either, for that matter. And he's going to want to step up physically. The Blues will be targeting him. Moakai Futuaka, that's a given. Felice Kaufusi, they're the only 2 middle forwards on the bench, and along with Harry Grant. And then you've got Kalen Ponga. So I think as a bench setup, Queensland's gone for, I guess, back cover and attack options. I feel like the challenge that Queensland had, or where Queensland lacked in game 2, was defence and was physicality. I don't think this bench is going to help improve on that, so I must admit it confuses me a little bit. And then there's been a lot of talk about David Fifita. Well, yeah, I would have David Fifita in there. Okay, well, maybe he has a lapse every now and then on defence, and that's what we're talking about. But with 20 minutes to go, you know he's going to step up. He's going to offer a bit. You need to work with him. I mean, he is an absolute game breaker and one of the better players in the NRL. So look, but Kalen Ponga, 100%. I'm glad he's there as well. I don't know if there was, but they've made room for Harry Grant and Kalen Ponga. Kalen Ponga hasn't played since the decider in 2022, such as similar to Dane Gagai. Kalen Ponga was Dally M last year and hasn't been able to play for a little while. He also is another player that really steps up, and sometimes you see him in the NRL defensively. I've seen a couple of games. He may as well not be there. Players running straight through him, but at an Origin level, you'd expect he just shows a little bit more resolve and determination, commitment to be there. But again, he's an absolute class player. I'm only talking about a couple of examples of where defensively he lacks has lacked or had a bad performance. On attack, he is one of the best players in the competition. So look, I like the lineup. I feel like it's an exciting one. They should score points and put the Blues under a bit of pressure, but I just feel like physically that's going to be the question mark for me. Let's move on to the Blues. You got Dylan Edwards at fullback. I know that James Tedesco played really well in that first game, considering the Blues didn't play or didn't. They weren't part of the competition or for the most part of that game. However, what Dylan Edwards offered in that game too was another level again. Physicality we're talking about, and he is a physical, bigger fullback and runs and fights and just will go the whole game. He's offers a lot on attack, and certainly, Teddy probably talks a lot, but Dylan Edwards' communication is right up there. Everybody knows what what's going on because he's in their ear about it. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing him. Brian To'o, of course, pretty predictable tackle bust machine, and he'll look to defend reasonably well as well. Bradman Best is one of the biggest talking points coming in for Latrell Mitchell, and look, the Blues will not be as strong without Latrell Mitchell. What he offers in terms of size, physicality, but also as a game breaker, Bradman Best can't offer as much in those few areas. Defensively, he'll probably be a little bit better, or a bit more consistent. Work rate's a bit higher. He's possibly quicker, and still a pretty big body. So look, I think that Mitchell's not an option. Bradman Best is the next best. Now the big question in all of it for Bradman Best is he's been under an injury cloud. He's been declared fit to play, and I'm sure they've been looking at that very closely. Matt Burden's been training at centre until I guess Bradman was given the all clear, so he has been, but that's one question mark we all have, isn't it? Stephen Crichton was absolutely awesome in game 2 as well. He's been one of the best players in the NRL, certainly as a captain for the Bulldogs. I mean, that team has just been turned around because of him, and he is another leader in that New South Wales side. He is obviously extremely competitive. He offers a lot defensively and on attack as well, and size, so under the high ball. But a given, he was always going to be named. Zach Lomax, one of the turnaround performers this year. He has definitely improved his game dramatically. He's physical, he's pumped up, and he's got a lot of confidence at the moment. Jerome Luai, he'll just carry on, but I must admit I feel like he's taken another step this year and was a key player in game 2 in terms of that attack. But Mitchell Moses really led that attack in game 2. He was if not the key man, I think he got man of the match as well, and he's going to need to play that well or better, and I don't think he played that well in his most recent game for the Eels. However, State of Origin's a different kettle of fish, or a different beast, and his long kicking game, his short kicking game as well in terms of accuracy needs to just be spot on, but he needs to get the yards as well. He needs to use his pace and keep Queensland guessing. he's absolutely key, and really for Mitchell Moses, it's all about how he handles the occasion and that cauldron that is Suncorp Stadium. That's really it for me. So we'll wait and see there. Jake Trbojevic as captain, and in the front row, Reece Robson at hooker. Reece Robson had a really solid game 2. I think Jake Trbojevic played more minutes in game 2, and again from a physicality point of view definitely delivered, and Reece Robertson both with the ball and without was absolutely key. He got that ball moving quickly, and defensively he was pretty sound. Payne Haas, I just want to see a bit more from him this time at Suncorp, which is I guess his home ground for the Broncos, up against a couple of his mates. He will be one of the key men, and I'd really like to see him lead that physical effort. Personally, I'd like to see that. I know that you've got Liam Martin, who tends to do that as well, and Angus Crichton was massive in game 2. So anyway, Liam Martin, he's going to lead the aggression and that physicality, and he is going to get into Queensland and try and grind them up a little bit and wind them up. Angus Crichton was immense in game 2. Absolutely just trying to knock and bump, and he was totally up for it. I mean, every single Blues player was completely up for that game. They were all at the absolute peak of their powers and just ran straight through Queensland. So they've got to do that again. That is their challenge. And Cameron Murray, it's good to see him back from injury. Starting lock, he's going to rotate a little bit with Isaiah Yeo. Although Cameron Murray could probably play big minutes, and Yeo might just rotate with Jake Trbojevic in that sense. But really, really glad to see Cameron Murray back. He's going to offer a little bit more on the ball playing as well, but he can cover that edge too. So it's really good to see him back. Connor Watson off the bench, if he gets a bit of game time with Robson coming off, he offers a heck of a lot on attack, and he is in form this year. So definitely hoping that Blues have a bit of momentum by the time he comes out onto the field. Isaiah Yeo, well, that's a no-brainer as well. He ran a lot more in game 2 than his sort of distribution skills, but I'd like to see that a bit more again. It's got to be all about the physicality. The Blues have got to win that battle. Mitchell Barnett, for me, I really, really do like that selection. I know that Olakau'atu has been playing pretty well. He's had a really good year for the Seagulls. However, probably hasn't quite stepped up into Origin yet. Probably trying to understand his role and what he needs to do with the team. But Mitchell Barnett absolutely deserves his shot. He can play middle. He can play edge. He has a sort of a state of origin mentality, I think. I think he's going to add something here. Certainly the Blues will look to dominate physically. He's only going to add more to that. Very excited about seeing him. And I mean, Spencer Leniu, I remember before game 1 thinking, why the hell would they have made that call? Well, he's proved everyone why. He offers extreme physicality and aggression, and I think this game's got to be all about aggression. He's made good breaks. He's got good foot speed, and really, really excited to see him up against the Queenslanders again. So that's the lineup. There is 18th man is Matt Burton and Trent Luero for the Queenslanders, and you'd like to think that's going to be how the lineup will be come Wednesday night. Very close in odds, and as I've explained, the Blues will want to win that physical battle. They've got a bigger forward pack, they've got a bigger reserves bench, and they are going to want to outmuscle the other team. I still think there's good versatility with the Blues as well, just in case something does happen to someone, whereas certainly Queensland is covered for versatility and back injuries to the backs. Queensland, for me, have the advantage. I think that, most likely they are going to win. So that will be my tip. If I had to, I've got to pick someone, and I think it's going to be a way closer game than game 1 or 2. It can go either way, but I think Queensland have the slight advantage here, and I'm picking Queensland 1-12. I think there will be a few tries in this one with the amount of attacking weapons that both teams have. However, I think it'll it might take a little while for tries to start coming through as the forwards get tired. I feel like the Queenslanders probably haven't given themselves that extra forward they need on the bench, and they could tire. They've got a few players there that can play big minutes, don't get me wrong, but that Blues pack, they're just going to keep coming. For the Blues, I mean, what an opportunity. What an absolutely awesome opportunity. If they can pull this off, it will go down in all time. After losing game 1 the way they did, if they can come back, win game 2 and win game 3, it will be one for the record books, or certainly the history books. So I would like to see that, but if you had to pick with your head, Queensland should have just the slight edge for mine. Let me know what you think. If I've talked a whole bunch of rubbish and you disagree with everything, please still let me know. If you have watched this video all the way through right till now and you're hearing me say this, thank you so much, and please do enjoy the game. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be an absolute awesome game, so enjoy.